Hello, this is Sonia here with The Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So today is Wednesday, and that means it's the stitch of the week. So for today's stitch, I am going to be using an eye hook or a 5.5 millimeter hook, and I have some worsted weight yarn here. So today's stitch, I'm going to be calling it a 3D shell stitch. And you can make this for a variety of projects and use a variety of yarns and hook sizes. I have used this stitch in lace weight yarn. I've used it in worsted weight. I just think it's a really nice stitch and yarn in between. I would not suggest fuzzy or furry yarn because you really want to showcase the stitch, and if you use fuzzy or furry it might not, show up that well. To make this stitch, I am going to be using foundation single crochet, but you could also do the traditional chain. So if you're doing the foundation single crochet, you are going to work your first row of single crochet using a multiple of 6 plus 1. If you are working a traditional chain, then you're going to want to chain a multiple of 6 plus 2. So I'm working a foundation row, so it's 6 plus 1, so why don't we do 17? Or I'm not 17. Yeah, I can't do math. Why don't we do 19? Because 6 times 3 is 18, and add 1, it's 19. So if you've never done foundation single crochet, you're going to chain 2. And we are going to insert our hook in the second chain from our hook, pull up a loop, and then you're going to chain 1, and then yarn over and pull through both. So we've created one foundation single crochet. So we are going to, right here you have a little bit of a chain here, so you're going to insert your hook right back in that chain. So you're kind of learning two stitches today, the 3D stitch and a foundation single crochet. So chain 1, yarn over, pull through both of those loops. So now we've created 2, so you can see this, the tops of the stitches there, so 1, 2. So I'm going to continue, and we want a total of 19. So this is row 1, it's the foundation row. All right, so I have my 19 foundation single crochet stitches here. So if you worked a regular chain, so then you would have single crocheted in the second chain from your hook, and then just single crochet across that chain. So if you would have done a chain 6 plus 2, then you would have single crocheted in the second chain from your hook, and then just single crochet across, and then you would have a 19 single crochet too. So now we are going to work row 2. So your first 2 rows of this stitch are going to be your foundation stitches, and then you're going to repeat rows 3 and 4, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 3 through 6 for the remainder of your pattern. So we are going to chain 1 and turn our hook, which I've actually chained 1. So we have chained 1, and you're going to turn. So I already chained 1. I'm getting ahead of myself. So for our second row, and your even rows will be your right side for this. So I've chained 1, I've turned my work, I'm going to single crochet right in that first stitch, right there. And now I'm going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, I'm going to work a shell stitch in here. So I'm going to work 5 double crochet all in that same stitch to create my shell. Now I have a pattern using this stitch pattern, and now my shells are a little bit larger. I actually have a shell stitch my shell stitch is 7 stitches, but you can, kind of play around with this, and if you want to have I wanted my shell to be like really wide, so I had 7, but traditionally it's usually 5, so we're going with 5 here. So there is my 5, so you can see it looks like a shell. And now we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and single crochet in the next stitch. So you're going to repeat that across. We're going to skip 2, 1, 2, shell in our next stitch, working 5 double crochet, Now if you are making a larger shell, then maybe you would want to play around with your stitch counts, and instead of skipping 2, you might want to skip 3 stitches instead. So your initial stitch count or initial chaining or foundation stitch would be a little bit different. And that's where math comes into play. So you can figure it out, or if you're just working a traditional chain, you can just make a really long chain, and then once you come to however long you want whatever project you're making, you can just pick out some of those chains and not have to worry about like really calculating math. I've done that before. It's kind of harder with foundation stitches. You kind of really need to be right on the money with those. All right, so let's skip 2. 1, 2. So the pros and cons of foundation stitches. So I've worked a single crochet in the next, or chaining. So if you're not sure how many stitches you need, make a huge chain, then you can just pick out the ones that you don't need. But foundation stitches, as I said before, you need to know the exact count. All right, so we're going to skip 2. We're going to work our shell in the next one. So this is a very easy stitch pattern, especially if you are an experienced crocheter. I mean, if you are a beginner, so it might be a little bit more challenging, but not too terribly challenging. Once you get going with it, you shouldn't really have too much of a problem. And I think it's really pretty. It's a favorite of mine. I love shell stitches. They are favorites of mine. I just think they're super pretty. So there is 5. So we're going to skip 2, and then we'll single crochet in our last stitch. So as I said before, all of your even rows will be the right side. So this is row 2, this is your right side. So for row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn. So this is going to be a repeating row. So we are going to single crochet right in that same stitch, and you're just going to single crochet in each stitch all the way across. So as I said before, very simple. So all of your odd rows when you're doing this stitch pattern will be a single crochet row, and it is the wrong side. So I'll keep going, single crocheting across, and I will meet you back. Okay, so I finished up my row 2 here, or my row 3, I'm sorry. So all my odd rows is the wrong side. So now we are going to get ready for row 4. It's an even side, so that's the right side. We're going to chain 3 and turn our work. So for the remainder of your rows, when you're working an even row, you will be working in the back loops only. So we have chained 3, we've turned. So we are going to work, I'm going to call it a half shell. So I'm going to work in my back loop here. So this guy is the back loop, and I'm going to work 2 double crochet in that stitch there to create my half shell, or this is, I would call this more a beginning half shell. So your chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and then 2 double crochet. So technically you have 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to single crochet in the back loop in the next one. And then we're going to skip 2, and we're going to work a shell, and I need to, sorry about that, needed to change my camera card. We ran out of space. So we are skipping 2, and we're going to shell in the back loop in the next one. So this is 5 double crochet all in that stitch. Okay, so I have my 5 stitches. Now we're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and single crochet in the next ones. So when you work your single crochet stitches, if you really look at it, you are working in the center of the shell here. So there's 5 stitches that make up the shell. So in stitch 3 of your shell is when you work your single crochet. So we're going to skip 2, and we're going to work a shell in the next one in the back loops. So as I said before, all of your even rows from here on out will be a back loop row. and we're going to skip 2, so 1, 2, single crochet in the next, and we're almost to the end of our row. So we're going to skip 2, and in our last stitch we are going to work a half shell. So we want it to look like this side. So this was, I'm going to call it a beginning half shell. This will be a straight up half shell. So a half shell just consists of 3 double crochet in that last stitch. Alright, so there we have our row 4. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work for row 5, and we are just going to single crochet across. So single crochet in that same stitch, and you just single crochet across. 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'm at my last 3 stitches, so you will work a single crochet on top of your chain 3. So row 5 is complete. So now we're going to get ready for row 6. So we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. Oops, and we have a little situation here. Good times. All right, so let's do row 6. So row 6, we are going to single crochet in the back loops in that first stitch. Yeah, we're gonna do it. It's not that hard. There we go. So we've worked our single crochet. So now we are going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're gonna shell in the next one. So working 5 double crochet, and we're going to skip 2 stitches, so 1, 2, and single crochet in the back loop in the next. So as you go along in this pattern, you'll start to see like the 3D effect, the shells start to really kind of pop out. And depending on the yarn you're using, it can really look really pretty with certain yarn. This is just boring worsted weight. I believe it's Red Heart number 4. You know, it's not a great color. I mean, the color's fine. It's just kind of this green color. Now I do suggest if you are using the stitch, you might not want to use black or a super dark color, because then the stitches you won't really be able to see them. So I do suggest using a lighter color, but you know, you can use whatever color you want to. So I've skipped 2 and I'm working my shell in the next one, so we're almost done. Row 6 here. So now we are going to skip 2, 1, 2, and then single crochet in the last stitch there in the back loop. So as I said before, all of your even rows and more yarn will be in the back loop. All right, so you can kind of see the shells starting to pop out there. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to repeat rows 3 through 6 for however long you would want your swatch. And then your last row, I would just repeat a single crochet row so it kind of matches this. So I think this would be a really great stitch pattern for a variety of projects. Like I said, I've used this for a shawl. I did a variation like this. I think I made like a baby dress out of it. You could use it as a blanket, a sweater, whatever. You could do a lot with this stitch. I just think it's super pretty. So I'll work a few more rows so you can really see it, and I'll meet you back. So again, repeat rows 3 through 6. All right, so I have worked 11 rows here. So now you can really see how the shells kind of pop out. That's why I call it the 3D shell stitch, because I think it really helps it to pop out. And especially if you're using different colors, it can really be a pretty effect there. And then I completed my last row just working a single crochet row. So again, you could use this stitch for a variety of projects. I think it's really, really nice. And I hope you enjoyed this stitch of the week, and I thank you so much for watching.